Hello and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And I'm Meg Hofdahl.
And this week we're talking about single white female. How are you, Meg?
Good. I'm a white female. I'm not single, but I'm two of those things.
So this movie came out, well, now I can't remember, so I'm going to look it up. Hold on. This movie came out in 1992. It has a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's starring Jennifer Jason Leigh and Bridget Fonda and Steven Weber, your favorite.
Do I love Steven Weber?
No, you don't like him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, back in 90s when Steven Weber was like
A thing?
He was like the hot guy of the day, I guess.
Like, yikes, our standards have changed. I don't know. I mean, if you love Steven Weber out there, that's fine. But, you know, we just haven't, I don't think we've loved him in anything.
Did you see that Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt reference about Tim Daly?
No, I don't remember. Tell me.
When he was like, why do like white ladies like serial killers and crimes and so much like, or Kimmy Schmidt saying that, and it just made me think of it because Tim Daly, you know, Wings. And he's like, it's like white lady porn. Sometimes I just want to watch Tim Daly like throw a lady down some stairs.
Oh my god, okay, that's funny.
Oh, okay.
Single white female, 1992. I saw this in the theater. And that was like, you know, kind of a big deal. I don't think, I mean, apparently I got the ticket somehow, but I don't think I was old enough because I think it must have been rated R. When did you see this?
So I saw this as a child, and it was completely inappropriate. This type of movie, this is my mom's type of movie. Like, she loves... This was my mom's, like, 90s jam. So I have no doubt I watched it, like, on, you know, Blockbuster Video when I was probably, like, 9 or something like that. 9 or 10, when it finally made it to VHS. That's probably about when I saw it. And I don't think I've seen it since then. I think I've seen it once. And it was, you know... there was one scene that, like, I look back on it now, I didn't know what cum meant, and when I watched it back this time, I, like, had that feeling of being 9 and being like, I don't understand.
Oh my gosh!
Like, it brought me back. He came in my mouth. And I was like, I remember being like, I don't get it. And, you know, I, like, had that feeling. So it kind of brought me back to that moment.
Yeah. I mean, and I noticed, too, like, there's some inappropriate things. So, I remember seeing this movie. I remember liking it. I probably have seen it once more since 92. But, you know, it wasn't something I rented over and over again. The plot, if you remember... Bridget Fonda and Steven Weber are together, but then she finds out he's cheating on her, and so she kicks him out, or he leaves, and now she is a single white female seeking other. That's the novel it's based on, and she needs to find a new roommate.
I was just gonna say, it wasn't until about halfway through the movie I was like, wait, she wrote in the newspaper that she's white and she's seeking another white female. Like, it literally took me halfway through the movie to be like, wait a minute, that's disturbing.
I know. I mean, and did people used to do that? Like, I feel like people used to do that in, like, ads for romantic partners, but for a roommate?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, you know, I could see how in back in the day when it used to be, like, male seeking male or whatever, that you might say, oh, yeah, you know, I'm a single white female or whatever. But why in a roommate situation does it matter? That I mean 92, there's a gay character in this movie. Like, it's like pretty, it's as woke as it could be in 92. I was kind of surprised by that.
So I was reading, because I'm like, okay, what do people think about this movie, and what did they think then? The reviews, as you could hear at the beginning, 55%. So, you know, it's not considered fresh, but more people than not liked it. But I was like, what is the criticism? Well, I want to hear your opinion on this. And I guess I'm not one to speak about it because I don't know. But the criticism is people are saying that it's homophobic because lesbian phobic because Allie's character, not Allie. What's the Jennifer Jason Leigh's character? I can't remember. Hetty. Yeah. They're saying Hetty is obviously a lesbian, and that portraying her as, like, unhinged and a serial killer or a killer then is problematic for lesbians. But I didn't read her as a lesbian. I read her as someone who is looking for that lost twin, that other person who can become part of her. What do you think?
Yeah, I did not read her as lesbian at all. I mean, I could definitely see how, somebody could maybe, but no, I thought it was much more sinister than that, and it wasn't even about it obviously it had to do that whole twin element, but it was literally that she doesn't like herself so much that she wants to become another woman. Mm-hmm. Like she's searching for who she can become, and she wants to be her, not have sex with her or be in a relationship with her. She did not want to have a relationship with her. Like, that's not, I mean, she definitely was creepy and like smothering her, but it wasn't to me in a romantic sense.
That's what I felt like too. So talk to us if you think we're missing some key points there, but I think it was more like, I don't have this identity of my own, so I need to become whatever you are because I love it so much. So the way she becomes her, she starts acting like her, she buys her wardrobe, and then the quintessential scene of cutting her and dyeing her hair to look exactly like Allie, and she like comes down the steps, and she was pissed. What if like I came out like looking exactly like you one day?
I mean, I would probably be concerned. Yeah, can you imagine? And I mean, and in this scenario, it's your roommate that you've only known for like a little bit of time, and she comes down in like a very distinctive haircut that is your haircut. That would be a huge red flag, and I don't think I'd be able to hide how pissed I would be in that situation.
I thought her reaction was appropriate.
Yeah.
So there is a dog in this film, and Hetty buys it for Allie as sort of like a bribe of, look, this is ours now, and she kind of tricks her into, bonding with it a bit. But then as soon as Allie and her now fiance are out, she kicks the dog.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, here's the thing. There are certain parts in this movie where you almost kind of feel sorry for Hetty, and you can... Well, to be honest, flashing forward, and I'm saying this, she kind of did her a favor of Steven Weber.
Yeah.
But puppy kicking, I will not condone. And the later when she kills the puppy, yeah. I remember that as a child. That maybe this is where all my puppy issues stem from. So when I was at Comic Palooza, I did a panel on women in horror, and one of the questions was, when has like one of your characters done something that you actually were like disturbed by? And I said there's a story I wrote about a character, actually she was a lesbian, a character that almost sets a dog on fire, but I said I couldn't go through with it, but I was upset even writing it, but that's what needed to happen. That's who she was. And I was sort of, talking with the audience about, like, I'm the type of person that, like, I can handle anybody dying in a movie, but not a dog. And so when that puppy died, and then when you saw that puppy, it was like, he's going to be a bunny in a pot, so to speak. Like, this is not going to go well.
Oh, yeah. So that, for me, like you said, turned my idea of her completely the opposite way. Like, yeah, I kind of do feel sorry for her. Oh, and she is in this position where she thought that she could live here a while, and that would suck, like, to have to find a new place again. But she kicks that dog, and then she kills the dog. It's like, nope, she is not well. The upstairs character, he's lovely. He is gay, and I remember that being sort of a big deal when the movie came out. And I don't think he was portrayed as a stereotype or anything. She has this friend upstairs, and it cuts so good because it comes into play later that, they have the key because they were going to cat sit. And then also, like, later, Hetty knows that she's already tied him up, and we think maybe he's dead in the bathtub, but he's still alive. And she's like, oh, I'm going to visit Graham. And it's like, actually, she knows that you're lying.
Yeah, that was great. I thought he was dead. I didn't remember anything really, so I thought he was dead, and I was upset about that because He was a great character, and I was like, oh dang, that was fun having him be this friend character. And and he wasn't a stereotype, which is nice, especially in 92. Can we just stop for a moment and talk about the fashion in this movie? Like, oh my goodness. And Hetty is jealous of her fashion.
It's so matronly and dowdy, and it's bad. What is with the 90s fashion?
Like, it didn't look good on anybody. Like, Bridget Fonda is a smoke show, but she looks like a schoolmarm in that. Ugh.
And it's so funny. I mean, we have to forgive it because it's old, but the technology, and she's like setting up this software, and it's so funny to like go back and watch it now because it's like, that's ridiculous.
It's tough because you can't blame them. It was 92. That was a technology then, but it can take you out of the movie sometimes. There are just some movies where it just, those blocky computers and stuff, it just pulls you right out. But you know, I love a horror movie where somebody's got newspaper clippings. Yeah. You know, I love a scene of going through newspaper clippings. So as a writer, I almost kind of like mourn the loss of that because I don't think anybody really keeps them in shoeboxes anymore. So any sort of plot device with a newspaper clipping, I'm happy.
Yes. There's this, speaking of the software design and the old computers, she's doing this job for, what's his name, Jeffrey Toblonsky or something?
Steven Toblowski or something, yeah. He's in everything.
Yeah, he's in everything. He's, I always think of him from Groundhog's Day. And he's like this creepy guy, and he comes onto her, and he literally is standing behind her, and he puts his hand in her blouse. Like, that to me is so disgusting. And she gets away, and then Hetty finds out, and you just know that something good isn't coming for him. But I kind of hate it because he comes in as almost like a hero.
Well, yeah, so it was kind of like this great Me Too movement because, or scene, because Bridget Fonda, what is her name? Allie, like, you know, gets him right in the groin, but then it kind of, and it kind of showed, like, this is, you know, it was in this novel, and I mean, this was a long time ago, and look what was happening then, and they did a great job of when she comes home to Hetty, she feels like it's her fault, and Hetty's like, no, you're the victim, and I was like, well, she's being a good friend right now. I mean, I kind of knew where this was gonna go, but then there was also that idea of, she's like, I feel stuck in my career now, I don't know what to do, and I thought that was kind of a nice sort of the moment sort of thing. I mean, it's sad that was happening in 92, and it's still happening now, and it hasn't been fixed. But I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I was kind of like, oh no, she's in trouble when at the end, like, that's the only person she can rely on is the guy who tried to rape her. And I said that quietly because people are walking by. I said R. But yeah, but in the end, he didn't really get to be a hero. So I felt like it kind of like bounced out, and it was okay, because I thought if he saves the day, like, I'm not gonna be okay. But he ends up. Does she kill him? Yeah.
Through the pillow, with her gun, because I'm like, we're like trying to whisper now, because there's people around. But yeah, it's and Graham is not dead. He is just knocked out in the bathtub, and his cat is laying with him.
That was cute. At first I was like, wait, the cat's not dead, is it? I can't handle another, but it was like purring on his unconscious body. But then when I saw he was alive, I was so excited because I forgot that. So that was like a nice surprise, and it was like, oh yay, he's gonna help save the day.
So I know we're talking about it kind of out of order plot wise, but there's two disturbing scenes. She follows Hetty out one night after she gets this new haircut, and she's dressed to the nines, and she follows her to, I was reading, it's apparently a real sex club in New York City, and she sees her using her name there, and it's just wrong, because it's like, what the heck is going on? You're pretending to be me. And then of course she puts on Allie's coat and goes and sneaks in to Steven Weber's hotel room and gives him a blowjob, and ends up putting a stiletto in his head.
And what woman in 1992 wouldn't have snuck into Steven Weber's hotel room?
It's white woman porn.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what happened, so it was kind of fun when she did the stiletto in the eye. That was great. And I'm sorry, he deserved it. He was a shitty boyfriend, so whatever. She did Bridget Fonda a favor there, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't shed any tears over his death, but it was pretty disturbing. And then as she's leaving, the doorman's like, "Good night, Miss So and So." Like, he thought it was Allie, which is like, oh my god, it's perfect. She's gonna be blamed for this murder. When Bridget Fonda finds out, because she sees like the bloody stiletto, and she sees on the news that somebody was murdered at the hotel where he always stays, and they even say the room number, which is always his room number apparently. And she calls and they're like, "Oh, there's been an accident," and she knows, but she's trying to play it cool. Like, that, I could feel that panic.
That was good. Where she was literally like throwing up, but she can't show in front of Hetty like that she knows that, that Hetty must have done this. And that was one of my favorite scenes. Yeah, I know they would have never given the room number on the news, but they had to, okay. But yeah, it was that was good. That was one of the better tension parts. And then you go into when you end up getting, and I'm kind of skipping ahead a little, but after she's been tied up and then there's the whole climax scene, I was really excited about how this movie was about men getting killed and women got to have the climax this time, and there wasn't, a man in that final fight scene.
Yeah, true. Like, and this whole epic showdown at the end is really well done, and I remember it. Like, this is something that stuck out in my mind, in my memory. So creepy when Allie finds Hetty scrubbing everything down, and she's wearing gloves now. She is wiping her fingerprints and any trace that she's ever been there, and she's like, we're gonna, and she changed her hair color already. She's gonna dye Allie's hair, and they're gonna go off together. Like, ugh.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess maybe that's something where, like, people are like, oh, look, she's in love with her, and also because of the jealousy with Steven Weber and stuff, but, yeah, though, that's super creepy, and so, this is when I say, I don't think Bridget Fonda's a good actress, but this is a great role for her, because she really is just playing us, there wasn't a lot for her to do. I feel mean, but I just don't think she's a great actress. And actually, I looked her up on IMDb. She has not been in anything since 2002. I thought maybe she died. I was like, oh my god. But anyway, this movie, of course, really stands on the strength of Jennifer Jason Leigh. And yeah, this is more about Bridget Fonda representing us, and because I felt myself really like putting myself into Bridget Fonda's character and being like, what if Kelly was doing this to me?
Yeah. I mean, so weird, like, just weird stuff. And I mean, I can see, I think we've all had a friendship like this where someone's just a little bit too, not necessarily trying to be you, but just trying to be with you all the time or do everything with you, and it's just like, oh, you just have to back off. But when the person is living with you, that's a little more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's sort of something I'm sure every single person's had to deal with, in the sense that that person who, like, they cater their personality to who they're around, and they're really clingy, and they're the type of person who, like, they kind of find out, like, if you're busy or not, like, through sort of alternative channels, and they kind of trap you into hanging out with them. I mean, we've all been there. So it's sort of like something that's common on a micro level like that. Now, so obviously this is an extreme example, but I really like the whole backstory of the twins, because I thought it was kind of creepy how in the beginning they show the twins, so that when later she's like, oh, my twin died in birth or whatever, or in utero, or just something like that, you're like, I don't think that's true. So that was a good little, like, idea that, okay, something's off here. But I like this idea too, that it sounds like she blamed herself for her sister's death, and that she actually wasn't to blame for it. And I thought that was really neat. Instead of being like, she's been evil. Crazy. Yeah, like, she's just been evil or crazy from birth. It was like, no, like, she went through something traumatic with her twin dying, and that sort of became who she was, and she was never able to really sort of grapple with it.
When you were talking about like trying to get out of things with people, or not even trying to get out, they like trap you into something, reminded me of the Reductress headline that came out like a month ago that said, woman asks, if you're busy this week, and now you're donating her a kidney.
Yeah, and Kelly and I were like, that's us, because sometimes we're too nice.
It's like, and not that we can't hang out with people, but sometimes it's like, I just need to like wash my laundry, like literally.
Yeah, and I'm the worst at being like, yeah, I'll do that, and then it's like seems fine, and then it's like 20 minutes before I have to do it, and then I'm like, why did I say I was gonna do it? I don't want to do it. I'm gonna cry.
It's the I would think of the Titus Andromedon thing. Like, I already did something today.
Yeah, exactly. He's our spirit animal.
Yeah, I love him. So what else about single white female? She is bringing her down to the incinerator. She's like dragging her body, and Allie gets away and like hides in the vents. There's always people in vents. I thought maybe that would be part of like childhood. I thought I'll have to crawl through a vent someday. I haven't.
As of yet.
Yeah. I guess I've still got a lot of life to live. But it's a good showdown. She's trying to grab that screwdriver. Like, that she's going to have to kill her. Oh, it's like a physical confrontation, and they look similar. I mean, they don't have the same color hair now, but ooh, it's so good.
Yeah, I remember the fight, especially for some reason the elevator aspect of it. I've always been kind of nervous on elevators, and I wonder if this movie is to blame for many problems like puppies dying and elevators. But yeah, I love the climax. I love that it's a physical confrontation between the two of them. I love that Bridget Fonda takes care of business, and it's not her rapist coming to save the day. Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, I was worried about that too, because I didn't totally remember. I mean, I remembered this end scene, but I was like, maybe that's a different movie. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, and I think like this movie, and I think in big part too, because like I said, my mom doesn't like supernatural horror, but she loves this kind of horror film, and these are the kind of movies I watched a ton of. So when I see this movie, it's so 90s to me, and so sort of what I sort of grew up watching, and it's just a great example of like that sort of psychological terror plus sexiness that the 90s had. There was a lot of nude bodies in this.
Yeah. Oh, another thing, and I know that we're different people, and everybody's different, but one of the scenes that Allie gets uncomfortable with in the beginning is that that Hetty is just like gets completely naked in front of her, and I'm a super modest person, and I like never change in front of anybody, but would that throw you off if somebody was just all of a sudden naked in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, I have one friend from childhood that we kind of just have known each other forever, and sometimes we'll be a little bit naked, but like not full naked in front of. And yeah, if somebody did that and I didn't know them very well, I'd kind of like put that in the back of my mind, like, okay, that was interesting. But I like have a problem where I don't close the door and I go to the bathroom like a lot, so I guess I try not to judge.
Yeah, I mean, we all have different levels of modesty, but if it was a new roommate that you just met and all of a sudden they were naked in front of you, she's trying to avert her eyes but not make a big deal of it.
Well, and also there was the masturbation scene, which was like, well, your roommate's masturbating. It's not that big of a deal. Right.
Oh, but the big deal was that she was looking in, and then the dog made a noise, so she had to pretend like it was the dog.
I know. That was the worst. Like, she was watching her masturbate, and then the dog barked or something. So that was awkward. So, maybe don't peek in on that.
Oh, yeah. So we need to rank single white female on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being it's a perfect movie. And what should we use as a scale? Newspaper clippings!
Yes! A newspaper clipping's about your dead twin.
Out of 0 to 10 newspaper clippings, how do you give it? How many do you give it?
I give it a 7 because I'm giving it... it's not my favorite movie, but I'm giving it some extra points because I love that it's female driven and there's that great gay character, and a lot of men die and and women get the climax at the end, and it's just so 90s, and I just enjoyed it.
I also give it a 7. I think it's still a solid movie. I mean, some things don't hold up just because of era and stuff, but I mean, it's still a great premise, and I wonder how much that apartment really cost. Like, holy crap, that apartment would not be able to be rented by 2 people.
A 2-bedroom? No, heck no.
It was so nice, but anyway, yes, single white female. It's time for our fast forward segment. Meg, what are you going to talk to us about this week?
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about a book I'm listening to on Audible right now, and I thought it was appropriate for single white female because it's called Hell's Princess, The Mystery of Belle Gunness, Butcher of Men. So as you guys know, I love true crime. And, by the way, I should say it's by Harold Schechter, who, this is my first book that I'm reading by him, but he has written sort of so many books about true crime subjects, and he's very well known, and I'd heard that he does a great job, and now that I'm listening to this one, I'm excited to listen to all of his or read all of his. Belle Gunness, and it's funny, I was complaining to my husband about this. I said, I know so much about Belle Gunness, why am I listening to another book about her? And isn't it funny how we end up, like, pursuing the things we already know stuff about?
Yeah, I know, but it's because we're going to get new insight and hopefully, and it's just feeding that passion, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So I will just tell you a little bit about Belle Gunness, and I really encourage you guys. This book came out in April, so like I said, I'm listening to it on Audible, and the guy reading it, I don't know who the narrator is, but he's doing a good job. She was a woman, this is all real, of course, who lived in LaPorte, Indiana in the early 1900s, and she was a Scandinavian woman who came over, and I'm trying to remember what country it was. I want to say Sweden, but I can't remember. And what's so fascinating about her is basically, well, she's a butcher of men. She does this scam where she has men come to her nice farm and to marry her, and she was a huge woman. She was not, beautiful by any standard. She was very homely, but she had a bit of charm, and this is back in the day where you would literally put an ad in the paper, so it's very single white female, and she would tell these men, like, if you come and marry me, you'll be able to help me on this nice farm. And men, without meeting her, would come from near and far, many of them from Minnesota, because she would post a lot of ads in Scandinavian and Norwegian papers specifically, and she would end up murdering them, and then get another one, and she would steal their money. She'd tell them to bring a bunch of money, and she... Spoiler alert, the best part is she ends up faking her own death, and she was never found. So, it's a fascinating book, and it's hard to believe it's real.
Okay, is there a movie about this?
Not that I know of, but I think we need to make it.
Well, holy crap. And I hate to be that person. It's like, this book sounds amazing. Where's the movie? But I feel like this should have been done already.
Yeah, I mean, it's cinematic. She literally uses a body to make it seem like she died and starts a fire. The way they finally figured out wasn't her. She was a very big lady and the body wasn't. She was never found. They never discovered her. So, and they ended up finding 11 bodies on her property that she had buried. Most of them men, some of them were her children. So she was intense, but, Hell's Princess, it's called, and I'm enjoying the hell out of listening to it. It's macabre, obviously, but there are just some elements that are almost laughable because she's sort of ridiculous, and sort of brazen, and one of her husbands, she actually convinced this particular husband she actually married and had children with. This wasn't one of her, like, schemes. I mean, she ended up murdering him, but she convinced the police that a meat grinder fell on his head. So, I mean, it's just, if that's your thing, you'll love it.
What year was this? Like, what sort of era?
So this was the early 1900s. And she is, notorious, and you can go out and see the site of her farm in Indiana. I'd love to do that someday. But yeah, she was hardcore, and I mean, she's one of the most prolific female serial killers. I mean, she's just fascinating to learn about.
Did you say the town that she was near?
LaPorte, Indiana. So, and there's quite a few Minnesota men that she murdered because there were Norwegian immigrants that were convinced of her that she was going to be the wife they needed, and they were going to live on a nice farm, and she would tell them, oh, bring a nice coat, bring all your money, and they were never heard from again. So it's fascinating, and yeah, if you like true crime, and the writer Harold Schechter is just very well written, and he has a book about Ed Gein, and it's like one of those things where I know everything about Ed Gein, but I can't wait to listen to the Ed Gein book next.
That's awesome. I definitely need to read more about this woman. I remember when, I can't remember what movie we were talking about, but I was asking you about serial killers and if there were female serial killers, and everybody always references Lizzie Borden, but I mean, that is hardly, if she was guilty, which I know you think she is, that hardly counts, I think.
Well, yeah, and I think what's so fascinating about female serial killers, in comparison, when you compare to like a Ted Bundy who, was so sexually driven and stuff. I mean, this was a woman who's like, I want more money. She started out by, insurance claims on her husbands and those kind of things and her children. And I mean, this is all business. So I think there's something sort of charming and fascinating about that. I mean, obviously, you shouldn't go around killing people, but I think the reasons women kill sometimes are even more fascinating than men, where it comes from a place of almost dutifully killing and sort of almost like it's her career. I find it fascinating.
That reminds me of the documentary that we both just watched, Evil Genius. This woman, she got away with it if it was true, but she had several husbands, or at least two at least, die under mysterious circumstances, and she got their insurance money, and it's like, what?
You wonder when you're the third husband or something, it's like, do your homework. But I mean, not to make a silly joke, but it's like we've all been there where we're like, our husbands are annoying, but the to bridge that gap, like in Evil Genius, I mean, yeah, that's, if you guys haven't watched that, you have to, but to bridge that gap, that's what I'm always fascinated by, and that's why I'm like obsessed with true crime, is like we all have those moments where we like feel anger or feel maybe not necessarily murderous, but we feel like, okay, I want this person away from me, and it's that bridge that makes us different from me and Belle Gunness that I'm constantly exploring and trying to figure out. And books, really in-depth books like Hell's Princess, help with that.
That's awesome. So we hope that you are happy in your marriages and relationships, Horror Rewind listeners, on that note. And we hope you have a great week. Until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye!